Today we're joined by Paul Hutton, who is the CEO of 4 Agency, one of Europe's oldest and most respected PR and marketing agencies that was founded back in 1963. So with such a long and prestigious history, 4 Agency has seen the industry transform many times. So in this conversation, we'll be exploring a very current topic, which is apprenticeships, from the perspective of a business leader. Paul has admitted that he was once sceptical about apprenticeships, but his views have changed dramatically when his own son chose this pathway. We'll hear how personal experience has reshaped his professional outlook and why he now sees apprenticeships as a valuable asset for both individuals and organisations. So welcome, Paul.
Hi, Gemma. Thank you so much for having me. It's lovely to be here. And what a great space.
It is a great space. It is a fabulous space. And it's great to have so many experts that come on board, and you being one of them.
I'm not sure I can class myself with that, but I hope I can shed some insight today.
So can you tell us a little bit more about 4 Agency and its history since being founded in 1963?
Yeah, sure. Whilst I probably am classed as a dinosaur, I wasn't there at the founding. 4 was founded by some execs from ITV who saw there's an opportunity in the market for core communications, core advertising. 4 was initially interregional public relations, portrayed as 4. So over 60 plus years, there's been multiple iterations of what 4 is. So at one point we had 17 offices across the UK because it is very much face-to-face. And that sort of is an indication of how things have changed over time. Now we are a multi-service agency, from TV advertising to news desk, public relations. Public relations has changed hugely as well. We live in a digital world nowadays, whereas back in 1963, TVs weren't even digital.
So how have you actually seen the world of PR and marketing evolve over the years? I know you've said that there's obviously been quite a bit of change, but within the PR and marketing side, how have you seen it change?
I think if we look back at the base of PR and marketing, we're communications. We communicate to humans. So humans have evolved, but the channels through where we communicate the messages or where we try and interact with our audience, they're vast. You know, people still say print's a big part of it, but print is less and less, but it's still really important. But things haven't disappeared. They've just been added to. Previously, you'd have your broadsheets, you'd have your newspapers, you'd have your magazines. But even now, print's just expanded even further. It's now digitized. So digitalization and social media has had a big impact. And then we look at how even more recently in TV, how we consume TV's changed. So if we look at TV budgets and advertising budgets, we're pulling certain budgets away from conventional broadcast to more hyper-personalized, directed campaigns across different channels, including YouTube. So I think the biggest change is, and certainly for marketing, is just staying ahead of what's coming and being open to it. And this is a really good example of how organizations and businesses need to be open to change. Accept change, because change will happen. If you don't accept change, you'll be left behind. So there's lots of changes, massive amounts. We could have a whole podcast on how the landscape of marketing and PR has changed.
Well, we could possibly do that at a later date. Before your personal experience, what were your initial perceptions of apprenticeships, both as the CEO and as a parent?
And I'm really embarrassed to say it, but I think sharing real stories is so important to see how even a dinosaur like myself has become, well, this is the future. And my initial one was that, well, an apprenticeship is maybe someone who couldn't get what they wanted at university. Maybe they were a little bit like me at school and spent far too much time focusing on rugby and other things and didn't get the grades they wanted at certain points. So they had no option but to go down the apprenticeship route. That's absolutely not true at all. Or stereotypically, an apprenticeship would be for the carpentry course or an electrician or plumbing. But apprenticeships covers a raft of opportunities. Now, I have in the early days had the opportunities to experience some of the early apprenticeship schemes. Early adoption is risky for any business, but we've moved on a lot. That whole process has moved on a lot. So I think I'm embarrassed to say that my thought of apprenticeships were not negative, but is it fit for me as a service business? Is it fit for me to then engage with my audiences for people to join our business? And I just didn't see the fit. That perception has completely changed.
Was that just down to your son introducing you into the apprenticeship side?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I'm really proud to talk about that journey, and it's quite amusing as well. He did well in his A-levels, and he then announced to me that he's going to do an apprenticeship. And initially I was like, why? What? Just go to university, do this. He had options with the military as well. I said, why are you doing this? So I think he's learned from me that it's pointless us getting into an argument about it. So he walked away, and he ended up presenting me a business case as to why this is the route that he wants to take.
Brilliant.
And I had no argument. Now, fast forward where he is now, he's with a fantastic organisation, OCS, and he's absolutely excelling. What I've seen is the support he gets from the schemes he's doing. Sadly, he doesn't do it at the university, but I think it's really important for us to talk about the whole, this is why apprenticeships is so important. But also he's built up relationships within that organisation. They've been able to see what he's like, and he's been able to see what they're like. And that's as he's learning. So he can mould and adapt his learning to apply practically, which benefits him massively and hugely benefits the organisation. It's been a massive step change for me, which was led on for me going, do you know what, we as four, we're going to start doing this. And I was just speaking to you earlier about a chap I'm going to be bringing into the university's apprenticeship scheme to run a associate project management course.
Which is absolutely fabulous that you've done a 180 in your thought process just because you didn't fully understand the benefits of actually having an apprenticeship.
Yeah, 100%. And it's worthwhile talking about that individual briefly, because he did a degree in graphic design. You know, we have lots of graphic designers in our business, but he then came out of university, couldn't find a job within that industry. And I know why that is, because you come from university, you've got a great portfolio of what you've designed in the university, but you've got no real applicable skills that you could then slide into a position straight away. What that's allowed him to do is go, you know, I'm not sure I want to do pure graphic design. I like to be creative. I want to use my creative skills, but I love data and I love organisation. I said, well, that's project management. Now, that's utopia for me. Someone who's got a creative mind, but who's also got the other side of the brain working.
Strategic as well.
I need to look at this strategically. How do I get that delivered? That's perfect. Now, how do I get him skilled up, but also apply it in my organisation? Well, it's an apprenticeship.
Absolutely. And now, because the apprenticeship is fully funded up until 21 as well, it's opened up, especially for people that are looking to do degree apprenticeships, fully funded by the government. So that works perfectly for people coming out of A-levels as well that are looking to then go into a degree apprenticeship.
Yeah, and I think that transition, I was speaking to a couple of your colleagues earlier, when we, the traditional route, and I mentioned the O-level word.
They looked at you blankly.
I'm not old enough to have an O-level, but I did it for effect for the audience, which caused amusement. The journey O-level, GCSE, A-levels. Then you apply for university, you go through clearing, you go off to university. And then what? But that university time is also that big step forward into the big wide world. And what does that big wide world look like for everyone? That's where you have a lot of ingrained thought processes, learnings, experiences that last with you for the rest of your life. So the opportunity to then have an intersection point where you go straight into a world of continued learning, but also deep applicable knowledge and experience. It's not just those 2-3 years that you spend at university. You're going to accelerate your professional career 5 years ahead of what other people are, because you come out of university, then you find your feet, you'll try and do a couple of other jobs, maybe spend a year applying. I mean, if I speak to people applying for jobs now, they're applying for things that they would never dream of doing just to get a job.
Yeah.
But you're in there, you're ingrained, you've learned, and you've built a relationship. So I think you're not missing out on going to that university. You're not missing out on Freshers' Week, and albeit they're great fun, but you're building a relationship and you're accelerating your position in life quicker, but you're building that your network as well. So you're not missing anything. He's certainly not. I mean, go back to my son. I spoke to him yesterday. He's in London on a tremendous deployment and he's loving it. He's still seeing the life, but he's seeing the life as a grown-up with grown-ups and learning from other grown-ups.
And that's it. But it is a really good transition, as you say, because then you're going into a business where you've also get assigned a mentor as well. You do feel like you get your hand held slightly. So you've got somebody, you've got support. You're not just being thrown straight into a full-time job where you're expected to know everything straight away. So it is a really, really good pathway to be able to then go along your career and a good starting point. And again, for businesses, whether they're levy paying or non-levy paying, up to 21 at the moment with the government, it's fully funded, or you then only have to pay 5% towards training costs. If you are a levy paying company, the amount of money that's being sent back to the government every single year, because people aren't utilising their levy, I think it was £3.3 billion. So it's so important that employers do actually realise and understand the benefits of an apprentice and having that process in place and speaking to universities and speaking to people looking for apprenticeships. My son was looking for an apprenticeship and couldn't find anyone wanting to do it. So I think having you here is great by having that understanding, that initial thought process of apprenticeships, and then realizing actually the benefit of having them and the fact that you're now brilliantly going to have an apprentice just on the back of that.
Yeah. So I can get straight in my mind. So up to 21 years, it's fully funded.
Yes.
Over 21, you pay 5% towards it. Is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
Wow. And again, where can you access support that the university or other suppliers would give for that investment? So people are investing back into your business, which is, for me, I'm still trying to get my head around, well, you're going to give me that support and I only pay 5%, or it's free.
So it's 5% of the training costs, and then you would then have to pay the apprenticeship minimum wage. Many companies pay more, but as long as you're paying the apprenticeship minimum wage, that's absolutely fine as long as everybody's happy with that. So if an apprenticeship level 6 is £22,000, you'd only be paying 5% of that, the government paying the rest. So, and then obviously if you're a levy paying company, that full amount comes out of your levy.
Wow.
So it is literally a no-brainer, and there are other avenues that you can look at. So if you are a non-levy company but can't quite afford the 5%, you can then go to a levy-paying company who aren't utilising their fund and ask if they can support you by giving 5% so you can take on your apprentice. That's called a levy transfer, again, which I don't think a lot of employers...
Well, I certainly didn't.
So I think these are things that we really do need to highlight to employers, because the information's there. I just don't think it's getting out into the market.
There's lots of misconceptions around apprenticeships. And what are the options? What can you be an apprentice in? Employers do not understand that.
There's so many.
What does it mean to me as an employer? What's it going to cost me? That'll be the first thing that my FD would ask me. Well, what's it going to cost us? Well, nothing apart from 5% and the employment of the individual, which you go through anyway if you think that person is going to be general recruitment. Yeah. But also, I think one of the things that's missing is I see a huge value in EVP, in employee value proposition. So you're recruiting someone at a very early stage in their journey of that career type. So it doesn't need to be someone who's early stage, i.e. 18, 19. So you get a lot of career changes, I'm guessing.
I think that is a misconception with a lot of the public as well as employers, is that apprenticeships are for people that have just finished school, which is completely incorrect. You could be 102 and become an apprentice. So it's literally open for anybody and everybody to utilise.
So when I'm talking about the EVP, the employee value proposition, is when you are that organisation that's supporting that individual in their next step or in their career, particularly the younger generation who are going through a process point of this is what deep learning's ingrained and all of this sort of stuff. They build up loyalty to the organisation. And that's really important for me, because loyalty, my team are everything to me, absolutely everything. And I know that I can pick up, and as much as my traffic managers in the studio would hate me for saying this, but I know I can pick up the phone and say, look, can you just slip this bit in, I need to get this designed out to a client. But that loyalty is huge. And I couldn't do anything without my team. So building up that early trust is really, really important. And I think apprenticeships allow that, because you've been through a journey of someone's life, and it's a really important journey for upskilling. So without getting too geeked out around neuroscience, upskilling and giving someone new skills is so important, that person's well-being.
Absolutely.
I think that's the other part. People don't realise the input that you're giving as an organisation and the outputs that you'll get from the apprentice. And it's loyalty. It's a deep knowledge of the organisation from the outset, and they're then applying the learning that we as an organisation can give them, because we're not teachers. We can train people on what we do as a business and what we see as happening in the world of PR, marketing, public affairs. We're not qualified to teach people the core principles as you guys are.
The beauty of an apprenticeship is that the tutor will be coming in, supporting and going through everything with the mentor, so that they know what to look out for, what they need to be doing, how they can help, how they can assist. So it's very much hand-holding for everybody involved, for the apprentice, hand-holding with them, taking them through their career journey, the employer to be able to hand-hold with them, with the fact that you're then progressing somebody through. You don't feel like you're on your own doing it. That's the beauty of an apprenticeship. Some apprenticeships are a year. A lot of ours are 3 or 4 years, because we're offering degree apprenticeships. So you are getting that person through and utilising their skills for up to 4 years. So I know a lot of employers, again, might be wary of taking on an apprentice, because they think after a year they'll be gone and they'll disappear somewhere else. With degree apprenticeships, you are again looking at, as I say, 4 years, and then you build up that trust, that relationship, and hopefully then an ongoing career within your company.
I think that's a really interesting point, because that historically has been, it's a year's apprenticeship, then person is qualified, thank you very much, I can earn more money being self-employed, or someone else is now willing to employ me because I've got this behind me. It's that deep involvement at those early points in someone's career, lasting 3 to 4 years. You've built that, as you say. If you can't build a relationship with someone who's been with you 3 to 4 years, I think you struggle. Now, I haven't got any facts in front of me, but I'm guessing if someone's been in a business for 3 to 4 years, they're probably going to go on to a life cycle of maybe 10 years and more. And that, I think, is really important to bring to light. And it reassures me as well. I'm embarking on this whole, let's start the apprenticeship scheme in the organisation. And that gives me massive reassurance. I go, yeah, it is the right thing to do, because if you've been it after a year, well, you've been in your apprenticeship, been in your opportunities.
Absolutely.
Let's work together and develop this.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you can probably tell, I'm an advocate of apprenticeships.
With my son, I think actually he's got a thing here that I was just blind to, or I was ignorant to it. And yeah, this is a real thing that has a benefit. And from the selfish point of view, it has a benefit to the business.
Yeah, absolutely. It does. And it's not that you're taking on an apprentice and thinking, oh, I'm going to have to put all the energy, time into this, because you're investing into the future of your business, and the amount that they will then input into your business, it far weighs what you're then putting into them. So again, with the fact that you're only possibly paying 5% if you're non-levy, you don't have to worry too much about that, because it's only 5%. You're paying, if you wanted to pay the minimum, then that outweighs that as well. So really investing in somebody and then helping them progress their career, investing those 4 years, you're going to get so much more out of it. Employers will get more out of it as well, which obviously you've already come to the conclusion of.
I'll tell you another interesting thing that I've learned speaking to some of your colleagues. You probably guess I'll push back. I've got loads of questions. So I'm always, so what? I was talking about data science. I've got a massive interest in data science. Having run a software business, I was chief operator of a software business. It was one of the fastest growing software businesses in the UK back in 2006 through 2012. And I'd always say I've got a massive interest in data. You know, this whole world of data is changing. So I spoke to some of your colleagues and I said, so what do you know about what the employers want across healthcare, across logistics, across general business, across marketing, PR? And they're actually going out and asking people. They're engaging. So rather than just saying, we've got this course content that we've come together because we think as academics, this is what you need to know. Mm-hmm. These courses, your team are building these courses based on what we as business people, organisational leaders are saying, this is what we need. Mm. And so logistics, what's the importance there? How do we improve efficiency? How do we improve our transport planning? How do we know the best routes? And these all feed together. The only way to do that is making sure that we understand how to use the data. And from my point of view, when you start talking about big data, you get analysis paralysis unless you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing for me, is when I said, yeah, but what do you know about our business in order to tell me what my future team need to be trained on? Well, because we ask them, we engage with businesses. And that's, I think, a big differentiator for this university, is you design the courses based on actually asking. So real co-design, right? You co-design with industry leaders.
Yeah, right at the beginning, when an academic has an idea for an apprenticeship, a market needs analysis goes out, we start speaking to employers, we find out, is there a need for it? If there is a need for it, what needs to be included in those courses? Do they want to get involved? Do they want to help and support and make sure we tailor those courses specifically for that industry? And then that's when the work goes in, and that's when the apprenticeship will obviously go through accreditation, and then we can deliver exactly the course that the employers are looking for.
Amazing.
Yeah. It's been so lovely talking to you. So if you've got any last statements to make with any employers that are second guessing whether they should have an apprentice, what would you say to any employer that's thinking about it?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. And again, we could be here for a couple of hours to dissect it down. But I think really understanding and opening your eyes as to what this actually could do for your business, and engaging with people like yourselves and asking questions, just saying, this is what I'm seeing as a challenge. What are you seeing as a challenge in this world? And how can we then work together to future-proof? Having an apprenticeship, bringing people in through this journey, you're building a pipeline for sustainable resource and new workforce. And you're also building future leaders, because they are seeing what you as an employer have given. They're going, I'm going to give something back. The other thing is, I had a lovely phrase the other day, an apprenticeship is earned, not owed. Mm. So what does that mean for someone like my son? He's earned that journey and he's come away not owing any student loans, but he has the ability. And then again, your question is, how has PR changed since 1963? People have changed and we've changed hugely. But those coming through the educational bodies are wanting different things. And I personally think that experiential learning will accelerate massively in the next few years. I've seen a big change in the last 18 months that my son's been involved in, but that may be because my observation's been lifted and I'm looking at it. So, we've got to take that and calibrate that. But what we need to look at is bringing these people in, giving them the opportunity. And actually, I think one of the biggest barriers for businesses, they'll go, it's going to be too much hassle for me. It's going to be a pain getting people in, having people here, then they're out, then they're in. Are you with me or are you not? What are you doing? I think that's ignorant.
Yeah.
And I think actually what you'll get out of somebody overcomes all of those. And it's not a case that they are in. The fact that they're learning here, when they're learning on their days out or on their mentoring days, they're applying it to your business.
Yeah.
And they're constantly thinking about your business, because that's how people learn. Well, they haven't got any other experience. Go, I'm working for Four, but what about the agency down the road? How could I apply it in that agency? I'll do that because they're in with you.
Yeah.
There's lots of misconceptions, and just be open to it. I was the one who wasn't. I was just draconian. You said, I'm not sure that's right for us. Just go and get the best talent with somebody else. But actually build your own best talent. In business, you've got to have a competitive edge. The only way we succeed is looking outside the box of what's the norm. And if a client comes to us and asks us something, we'll say, that's great, but can we get to the root cause of what you want to achieve? Only doing that is stepping outside the norm. You're going to get that from young people coming through the journey. You're going to get that from people who want a career change because they're hungry. So having that hunger of the next development and having the opportunity to upskill somebody.
It's just having somebody with a different perspective. Right? Have you thought about this? What about this? That you haven't actually thought of, and that diverse ability to come in and ask questions. Because I think when you've been in an industry for quite a while, some people tend to stop asking questions and just do the doing rather than actually, why are we doing it like this?
I'm going to give a nod to Graham, who's one of your colleagues. I've stolen this from him. If someone's been in an industry for a long time and they suddenly leave, they'll say, well, John's left and he's got 17 years of experience. Graham says, well, actually, John's got 1 year of experience that he's repeated 17 times.
Yeah.
He literally just said it to me in a meeting. And I sat there and said, I'm sorry, I'm going to nick that. This one's for you, Graham. I've given you a shout out, but it's very right.
Yeah.
Someone's been in an industry, they think, and everyone else thinks they know 17 years worth of it. They've got 1 year of experience, they've repeated 17 times.
Having new blood coming in, asking questions and thinking outside the box, it's such a breath of fresh air usually for employers. Touching on what you just said about employers thinking they'll be out all the time. It's really structured in the way that an apprenticeship is delivered. So it could be a block that they are out to actually do their learning, or it could even just be 1 day a week. So that means 4 days a week they are on the premises or working from home, however you want them to work. And just 1 day a week, they will be on campus doing their learning. It's not very sporadic and you don't know what they're doing or where they are. It is literally, as I say, either a block of learning or 1 day a week. And then you have them the rest of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it comes down to planning, working with you guys, because it is a true partnership between the university and the business and the apprenticeship. So you've got a really nice trifecta of partnerships there. And you've got that support, you've got that guidance. And again, I think there you've got a sounding board for the apprentice, who is also an employee, to voice their concerns. And there's almost that sort of go-between where the supply of the apprenticeship. I think, could we look at working with you just to model this in a little different way? You're learning every day. And again, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And getting people to support that knowledge gap or the opportunity to develop is what business and progress is about, is being open to change.
It absolutely is. I think it's great you've decided to take on an apprentice now. Obviously, understanding and learning more about apprenticeships. Obviously, your son going through an apprenticeship and hearing and understanding how he's been growing, how he's been developing.
He's growing because he eats me out of house alone, but...
Well, usually he's 19, isn't he? 19-year-old boys. I have a 19-year-old myself, so I feel your pain. So thank you so much for sharing your journey, obviously professionally and personally with us. And as I say, it's great news that you've decided to take on Apprentice, and we look forward to helping and supporting you with that. Thank you for coming in today.
Gemma, it's been an absolute pleasure. And again, what a great setup you've got here.
Fabulous. Thank you so much again.
Take care.